If you were hoping to see Belly and Conrad together by now and feel disappointed or maybe even worried by the show, don't be. Because everything in episode 10 is pointing to the finale being all about Belly and Conrad and that they will end up together. By the way, this is The Summer I Turned Pretty from the perspective of a former English teacher. Let's look at the storytelling in episode 10 and all the ways that the show is preparing us for a Belly and Conrad series finale. Over the course of episode 10, we see Conrad and Jeremiah repair and transform all of their relationships for the better. This is a result of the internal transformation that's taken place within themselves. From a storytelling perspective, this is signaling the characters completing their development, and it's the show tying up all the loose ends before the big finale. Because the only way we can send Belly and Conrad off to their happily ever after is to first have closure for all the relationships that were broken and affected along the way. If we want to be fed, we have to first let the show set the table. And that's exactly what happens in episode 10. For Conrad, we see him repair his relationship with Steven. We know that he's good with Taylor, and we know he's still close with Laurel. And based on his interactions with Adam at the rehearsal dinner and after the wedding, we know that Conrad's relationship with his dad has been restored and transformed with mutual understanding and acceptance. This wraps up all of Conrad's relationships with the secondary characters. For Jeremiah, we know he's still close with Steven and Taylor. We see him repair and deepen his relationship with Laurel, and we see Jeremiah finally being honest with his dad and stand up to him. And even though Adam cuts him off financially, it's not out of spite, it's necessary tough love. And we know from Steven, Taylor, and Jeremiah himself that it was ultimately good for him and that he's doing well on his own. This wraps up all of Jeremiah's relationships with the secondary characters. Now let's look at the primary characters. We see Jeremiah finally reaching out to Belly, and it's very important that he's the one who called her because that tells us he's been healing and that he's come to a place where he's ready to make amends. And that's exactly what he does, telling Belly, I want you to know that I'm good, really, and I hope you're good too. Their phone call ends with this wonderful symbolism where Belly says, it sounds like you're busy. I should probably let you go. To which Jeremiah replies, yeah, I should probably let you go too. This is symbolic of them both letting go of their shared past, saying goodbye to their old codependent relationship and who they used to be with each other. We also see Jeremiah and Conrad repair their relationship at Susanna's grave. How fitting and meaningful for Susanna to bring her boys back together. This is a conversation that these two characters have worked 3 seasons to have, one where they could finally be honest with each other and with themselves. It's very important for us to know that this is not supposed to be seen as a one-sided confrontation where Conrad finally comes down on Jeremiah or puts him in his place. This is a conversation where they mutually acknowledge how they've both made mistakes, how they've both hurt each other because they both loved Belly. We see it in the way that Conrad and Jeremiah gradually come to a shared understanding, acceptance, and forgiveness for each other over the course of this scene. At one point, Conrad mentions how much it had hurt him that Jeremiah had pursued Belly so soon after their breakup. But Conrad also says, I get it, because you loved her so much that you forgot about everyone else. I did too. This is Conrad acknowledging that they indeed both loved Belly, and that he too had hurt his brother in his own pursuit of her. Later in the conversation, Conrad and Jeremiah reveal that they were each trying to fulfill their own promises to Susanna. Conrad's to protect and take care of Jeremiah, and Jeremiah's to not let anything get between them as brothers. They both admit their own failures and laugh at the irony of it all, realizing that they were just trying to do their best in the face of an impossible situation. By the end of episode 10, we have closure for all of the relationships among the primary characters and the secondary characters, except for one, Belly and Conrad. And that's a major clue from a storytelling perspective of what the final episode will focus on. We will get closure on Belly and Conrad, and they will end up together, because this is supported by the heavy foreshadowing used in this episode. In the flashback to Susanna and a young Belly, their entire conversation should be understood to have a double meaning. They're talking about the idea of vacationing overseas instead of at the summer house, but used at this particular point in the story, the purpose of this specific flashback is to foreshadow how Belly will end up with Conrad. In this scene, Susanna tells Belly, you can swim in the sea every day. To me, this is a double entendre referencing the saying, there's plenty of fish in the sea, pointing to adult Belly in present time dating other people out in the world. Young Belly replies to Susanna, I don't want to swim in the sea every day. I want to swim here with you. And coyly she adds, and people, which Susanna catches with a knowing smile because she knows that Belly's talking about Conrad. So the double meaning here is that present-day Belly doesn't want to be out there dating other people forever. Her heart wants to be at home with Conrad. In the flashback, Susanna then tells young Belly, one day when you're older, you might change your mind. You might want to see more of the world. To which young Belly replies, no, I never will. I know what I like. And Susanna confirms, it's true. You've always been a girl who knows her own heart. The intentional use of this flashback is to foreshadow that for Belly, it's always going to be Conrad. He is who she loves, and there's nothing that can change that. Even if at the moment she's still afraid to admit it because of her fears of hurting and being hurt by the person she loves. Yes, Belly's dating Benito. Yes, she's seemingly not thinking about Conrad at all, but that's really only because we haven't gotten any inner dialogue from her. But if we pay attention, then we'd notice all these little clues that Belly still has Conrad in her heart. One of my favorite moments is when Belly opens the package from Conrad to see Junior Mint, and the first thing she does is to check if the infinity necklace is still there. The infinity sign is such a wonderful motif in this story. I've talked before about how Belly and Conrad are the mirroring halves of the infinity sign, and when we look at the lines in the path of travel as a metaphor for the trajectory of their characters, Belly and Conrad must go apart and travel away from each other to learn and grow and become fully themselves before eventually and inevitably coming back together again. The show has discreetly told us again and again Belly and Conrad's love for each other was, is, and will always be infinity.